Hey everybody, more cover art because I'm still using the same old camera. Also, talking about picking an army today. So I busted out a few of my codices to show all the pretty artwork. Alright, so I've made a post about this already on the Fortress Monastery, but I find picking an army is so important that I'm going to do a video about it. I'm not going to rehash what I've already written down. You can go and read that at your leisure. What I am going to do is touch upon the two key issues that I think are the ultimate factor in deciding if you're going to like an army or not, and expanding upon what you should do next. Alright, so why is picking an army important? Well, you're not going to want to learn the rules of the game or your army if you absolutely hate your army. And that can happen. You think you like them, you didn't really do enough research because you're new, you're excited, you want to get into the game, and you end up hating your army. You might even leave the hobby, which is understandable. Also, you're going to invest a lot of time, money, and effort into building an army. You don't want to do it and find out it's the wrong army for you. So, what are the two key issues? Well, fluff and how they look are important. They're a big factor for me, but the overall deciding issues, in my opinion, are monetary issues and ultimately the playstyle. Now, monetary issues is the ultimate judge for everything we do in our lives. If you don't have the money to do it, you just can't do it, then that's not your fault. It's just, that's what happens. So that aside, playstyle. What do I mean by playstyle? Well, I break it down to two things: shooting, assaulting. Why do I break it down that way? Well, because while armies can do both, pretty much every army can do both, and while there's also other issues like how maneuverable and how fast you want to be, ultimately, your win condition is if you're going to shoot a lot or assault hard. For example, Tau, shooting a lot, Orcs, mostly assaulting hard. They can do the opposite, but that's not their specialty. So you pick an army to play their specialty. So how do you know what you want to do? Well, look back at the other games you play: video games, computer games, role playing games, whatever. What did you like? Did you like shooting them, or did you like slashing them to bits? And that will help you decide if you're gonna like that in 40k. Granted, every army can do both, and if you're ultimately undecided, Space Marines may be the way to go because they can also do both and do both very well. But you have to like their fluff and like them in order to like playing them. Now, I'm not counting out Chaos, I'm not counting out any of the army, it's just that Space Marines are the ultimate poster child of the game, and thus can do everything. I'm not complaining about that, that's their fluff. They're probably the most universal army in the fact that they can do everything without having too many specialties in one or the other. Now, yes, they have new Vanguard veterans and Stern Guard, but one's assault, one's shooting, so there you go. You have specialties in both. While the Orcs, on the other hand, are all about tearing you to pieces. They got shooting, yes, but they're going to tear you to pieces. Okay, so you decide your playstyle. How do you expand upon this? Well, you can buy models, you can get the paint, you can do whatever you want there. My suggestion is observe games, maybe play a game with a friend of yours if they're in the hobby or somewhere where they teach you how to play, just to get a feel for rolling dice, for measuring, for movement and all that. But ultimately, I think you should pick up the codex. That's the most important thing. The rulebook too. The rulebook is very important, but the rulebook's more money. And if you have a friend who has a rulebook, you can hold off a little bit and just pick up your codex. It's got cool art on it. It's got some fun stories in them. It's got ultimately your special rules for your army and your units in them. It's got the point cost. Even if you don't really know much about the rules, you can build an army with help. Ultimately, the rulebook and the codex. Codex first if you're worried about money. Like if you can only afford to buy one or the other, I suggest the codex. It's cheaper. You might be able to get a model with that or some paint with that. But ultimately, buy those two things because you could have made the wrong choice. We all make mistakes. Maybe you thought you'd like the idea of orcs running around, chopping you in the face, shooting in the air wildly, maybe hitting something before they get there. And then you look at the rules, look how the game actually runs, and you decide, you know what? No, I don't like this huge mob. I want assault specialists. So maybe you've wasted what, 20 something bucks on a codex, and it's not really a waste because Look at this. I have all these codices plus every other one except Space Wolf. Why? Well, because I'm hooked on the hobby and I like all the fluff, but also because I can study up on the enemy army. Once you know the rules, and if you have a codex, you can pretty much build lists to do what people call theory hammer. Also, if you play Space Marines, for example, and you know a lot of people play orcs and you have an orc codex, well then you can really look at them in depth and decide how to counter them. But ultimately, if you buy the rulebook, you always need the rulebook, so that's never a waste. But if you ultimately decide the codex of that army makes an army unattractive to you, excuse me, then you only wasted $25 at most. Yes, that's a decent chunk of change, especially for a hobby, but it's not as much as if you went and bought a Battle Force, for example. Now, the only exception to this is if you like Space Marines, any Space Marines, doesn't have to be just Codex, or Orcs, then I would suggest buying the Assault on Blackreach. You get a main rulebook in there. It doesn't have all the cool stuff after the main rules in it, like some fluff and background information and pretty little pictures. But it's 60 odd bucks, something like that. I don't remember offhand in American dollars. Yeah, it's a good deal because the rulebook's $50 or so by itself. You get some models, you get a measuring sticks, you get some dice, you get templates, and you get the rulebook, as I said, plus a little how to get started little thing that gives you the way to actually play with that set if you wanted to. All you need to do is just actually buy your codex, and then you're set with the rulebook, your codex, and some models that get start assembling and painting, and they're easy because they're snapped together. So that's the only thing I would suggest aside from your codex and rulebook, and that's only if you're playing orcs or Space Marines. Alright, so I've rambled on quite a bit. If you want more information about picking an army, what I think about it, check out the blog. I will be going more in depth on picking an army using the Space Marines as an example because, as I said, the Space Marines can do everything. And the Space Marines have how many? 1, 2, 5-ish codices out there. The Blood Angels, PDF, Space Wolf, which is impossible to find, Black Templars, Dark Angels, Space Marines, and I'm going to throw Demon Hunters in there because the Grey Knights are a Space Marine chapter. They're just elite. So yeah, that'll be my next segment, if you will, on picking an army because Space Marines are so diverse that it covers everything. Alright, so hope you enjoyed my rant. I will not be posting many more videos because I'm going to be waiting for the new camera to come in. So check out the blog. It's going to be updated when I can. And take it easy.